Hi, my name is Phil Colcord, President of Fraternal Order of Police Evergreen Lodge 1 here in Kitsap County, and this is our outreach program. Today our guest is the Chairman of National Fraternal Order of Police, Rob Prime. Did I say that right?
No, Pride.
Pride.
P-R-I-D-E. It's okay, man.
I've
been called worse.
I apologize. I get even the simplest names messed up sometimes.
No worries.
Tell us a little about yourself.
I'm the Chairman of Trustees for the National Fraternal Order of Police. I'm a 32-year law enforcement veteran. I'm a Colorado native, so all of my time has been serving in law enforcement in Colorado. I've worked a variety of assignments, from a little bit of corrections at the beginning of my career, a whole lot of patrol. I worked general investigations and also did a fairly long stint doing narcotics investigations as well. I became involved in the Fraternal Order of Police pretty early on in my career as a member, and since then have gotten more involved and currently serve as Chairman of Trustees on the national level to just get more involved in what this organization does and what we represent.
Mm-hmm. And just briefly tell the people what the organization does.
Well, really the basics of the National Fraternal Order of Police is that we advocate for the men and women of law enforcement on a daily basis. Our primary goal is to get their pay, benefits, and working conditions better for them and their families, but also to advance the law enforcement profession across the nation and in our world, to just kind of advocate for the law enforcement profession and help people see us in the light that we would like to be seen in, which is not only law enforcement professionals, but we're also human beings as well. We're also dads and brothers and mothers and sisters and all that stuff that everybody else is. And I think a lot of what we do is trying to humanize the badge, if you will.
Mm. And you're also involved in wellness stuff for officers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of trauma hits a lot of officers and some serious things they're involved in.
Yeah, it's when you look at it on a daily basis, the average law enforcement officer in the United States sees or experiences a traumatic event probably once a day. And it's kind of a morbid example to give, but most people, most citizens across the United States, it's probably maybe once or twice in their life that they actually see a deceased person. That's not in a funeral home or a loved one at a funeral, maybe once or twice in their life. And the average law enforcement officer comes across that kind of trauma, that kind of devastation, probably once a shift, depending on where they're working. And so there's a lot of those trauma and mental health issues behind our profession as well.
I can understand exactly what you're saying, and I lived through that because, when I was a young cop and I saw stuff happening, and I looked around at normal people, we're all normal, but you know
Sure.
what I mean?
Outside of the profession.
Outside the profession, yeah. And what I saw was people live in a fishbowl. They don't realize all the crime that's going on. And it made me, I felt privileged that I had that because it made me live a fuller life and appreciate things more because I wasn't in that fishbowl. Well, toward the end of my career, I was wishing I was in that fishbowl because it gets ugly out there not being in that fishbowl. So, the thing that I thought at first was bad, later I thought, God, I wish I was there,
Yeah, and it's true, and I think that's true. I think that's just human nature, right, in the communities around us. But in a great way, Phil, what that means is we as law enforcement are doing a fantastic job, because if people are living in a society or even an area of their particular community that is high crime, high violence, but they don't realize it, that's because the police are doing their job. The police are keeping that contained. The police are the ones dealing with that. But to your point, there is a lot of work that we do in that realm for officer wellness to keep our officers healthy, because good police officers are officers that are not only physically healthy, but mentally and emotionally healthy as well.
And that's I think, hit on the nail of the important part of your job and why we need people like you doing that is the advocate, because the advocate isn't just for one stem of their life; it's their total life, and
That's right.
and their mental health and their physical health and everything else. So that's good. Um, so you tell me something else about your job.
With the national level? Well, I mean, the basics of my job is each state has a national trustee. We don't have a state lodge in every state. I think currently, we just chartered the Montana State Lodge, so I think it's 45 states now. And each state has a national trustee that represents them on the national level. So when we go to national meetings and we talk about issues on a greater scale, nationally of what we're doing with the Fraternal Order of Police, each one of those trustees represents their state, and they come with a vote to vote on the important issues that we're talking about. And out of all those trustees, they elect a chairman to kind of oversee and be a conduit of information between them and the executive board. And that's my job, is everywhere I go, is to represent the national trustees and the best interest of the order.
What I'm hearing is you're getting intel from the entire country, or all the states involved, through these trustees, and you're together as a unit to try to make decisions that will benefit all law enforcement.
Yeah, essentially that's exactly right. What I love about the Fraternal Order of Police is it's a bottoms-up organization. A lot of organizations similar to us are top-down. Their national leaders tell the rest of the organization what they're going to do, and we are not that way at our 300 and almost 80,000 members nationwide. They tell us what to do. The members go to local lodge meetings. The local lodge meetings make decisions and vote. They go to their state meetings and tell the state what to do, and then in turn, those state leaders tell us on the national level what their desires are in their state and what direction to go, and we seek their input in those major decisions.
And you know, I confess I did not belong to Fraternal Order of Police during my career.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get into it until after I retired, and it was probably a selfish reason I got into it, because I missed the police stuff, and you know, you feel like you're helping in the community, being in law enforcement. Well, I get that role in Fraternal Order of Police, and I'm still helping the community. You know,
It's fantastic.
so but now I lost. But I'm old, see, so I lost my train of thought where I was going with that.
No, it's okay. I'll comment on that. You know, we have a pretty large contingency of retired members in the FOP for that exact reason. And I think to your point, Phil, that you made, kind of how you felt when you retired, you know, we do these jobs for 20, 25, 30 years, and it's really all we know to do is serving the community, and it's constantly out there working to protect. And then one day when you flip the switch and that's not happening anymore, you kind of feel lost, right? And that's one aspect of where we're working in our officer wellness program that I think we could do a better job on. And we're talking about some ideas and things we have now is not only helping officers deal with the trauma and everything they see every day on the job, but helping them make that transition. What does retirement look like? What are the things that you can expect in retirement when all of a sudden you go from 100 miles an hour, working 10, 12-hour shifts every day, to being at home with the cat, right?
Yep. And you go through a adrenaline withdrawal.
That's right. That's right. And so that's one of the things we're looking at to incorporate with our officer wellness is kind of an educational piece for members that local lodges and local agencies can use to help with that transition.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah, I was the Sarge for many years, and then all of a sudden you kind of refocus and rethink your identity, what you are.
Well, you go from officers calling you every day needing something or having a question to your phone's not ringing anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's a big deal for first responders. It's just not our profession.
Yeah, and I told people, you know, I never realized when I went to work, I was actually getting rest because we got 5 acres we take care of, and I didn't realize how much work my wife does.
There you go. Yeah, it's all part of that transition into retirement and getting used to that.
Yeah.
And our spouses as well. Our spouses and significant others, they're used to us running and gunning and all hours of the day and night working. And when we're at home, they've God bless them. They've been at home. They've been running things at home.
Right.
They've been establishing the peace and tranquility at home, and we're interrupting that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And so it's a transition between both. And and to that point, that's one thing kind of the resounding message I want people to hear is that we are just the same. We are human beings
Just
like
like
everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody else. It doesn't make us different.
If you got a wife that's been around for a while, you got a really good wife, because what policemen have to go through and put up with, and the wives have to put up with, never knowing.
Well, the reality, Phil, is that behind every great first responder, including the men and women of our organization and police, is a strong, significant other. Because you cannot do this job without having that support at home, and if you don't, it makes for a very long.
Actually, I don't
career.
think I would be strong enough to do her role in this.
Sure.
Because you just worry about them, and you figure it's a two-way street.
That's right.
Yeah. But I like that concept, and I agree with that. More companies and stuff, I think, would be a better world if they worked from the bottom up instead of the top down.
It's really the only way we see to do business in the Fraternal Order of Police is that we have to, if we're going to represent the line level police officer, and we're the only major organization doing that, representing the rank and file, then we have to listen to them. We have to seek their input. Cops know what cops need, and that's really the only way to go about it.
And that's what you want to do. Yeah. No, that's good, outstanding. So, what's some hurdles you're going through right now with FOP?
Well, I think one of our big legislative hurdles right now is Social Security windfall elimination, Government Pension Protection Act. The community folks watching this can look that up and see what it means. But yeah, that affects more than just us. It affects police officers, firefighters, teachers, anybody with a government pension. That essentially, if you paid into Social Security in a job that you had before or after your career where you didn't pay into Social Security and you earned your points and you earned your quarters, those acts that were put in place by Congress in the mid-'80s take away from your Social Security benefit for no other reason than you chose a government profession and have a government pension. And so our national president, Pat Yose, and our legislative executive director, Jim Pasco, have worked very hard in Washington on that and worked with our lawmakers. And we are further along in getting some sort of relief on that than we've been in 40 years of battling that. So that's one of our biggest legislative hurdles. I think overall, outside of legislative matters, I think really some of our big challenges now are just simply continuing to make the law enforcement profession a desirable profession. We need to continue to make pay and benefits and working conditions the best we can, because otherwise we are not going to recruit the best and brightest for this job. And I think we can all agree, for the communities that we live and work in, we want the best and brightest young men and women coming into our profession, because that's really the future of law enforcement, is those coming in now. And I think that's one thing we have to continually do, is just work with our communities and work with our public to make this an honorable profession, to police in the manner the way our communities want to be policed, and continue to recruit good, qualified people to do this job. It's when we lower the bar and lower the standards that we run into the issues we've seen across the nation, and we've got to continually work and advocate so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree completely. And the last 4 years should be a lesson that everyone learns about.
That's right.
What you can do and what you shouldn't do.
That's right.
And try to fix some of the things that you shouldn't have done that you did.
It is. And, just to touch briefly on your comment about the last 4 years, it's been very tough for the law enforcement profession. Post 2021, 22, We saw a mass exodus in law enforcement across the country. And when that happened, you know, Phil, as you probably saw in your community, what we lost there was just not people. We talk a lot about staffing, right? And we talk a lot about resources. We didn't just lose people.
Experience.
We lost experience. We lost the benefit of those officers teaching the younger generation to come in and do the job. And so, you know, even now, here we are 3-4 years later, and we are still trying to catch up with staffing shortages nationwide. But more importantly, we're trying to catch up with keeping those standards where they need to be, so that we get the best people for the job. So you're right. We have to learn from our past and continue to get better, and that's really one of our big goals at the National FOP.
And it's a joint effort. We need the public to work with us
100%.
to get that done.
We cannot accomplish it without the help of our communities.
I think police have no problem with transparency. I mean, the sheriff's office here just put cameras on all the officers, and they took a vote, and the officers wanted them. Now,
Right.
the thing is, and I've discussed this with them, is I think the legislature should make a law that the news media cannot show short spurts of clips on the TV that, you know, I talked to news people, and they said, well, their job is sensationalism. You know, when I grew up, their job was to report the truth, and they back everything up by independent sources. Now they're in sensationalism, and a lot of times this short little script that they show or clip is a sensationalism, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
You know, Phil, the most important point that I can make on the topic of this discussion for our friends and partners in the community is exactly that. You know, it's very easy to get caught up in mainstream media and these 24-hour news cycles that, you know, you're right. Their job is to sell the story right then and there, facts aside or
Facts
not.
aside, yeah.
And I think that's one of the big things that we're trying to do and get out to communities is, you know, when these events happen in your communities and they happen with your law enforcement agencies, of course you should raise an eyebrow. Of course you should be scrutinous of the work your law enforcement agencies are doing, but pause and wait until you have the whole story before you react, before you pass judgment, because you're exactly right, Phil. There are a lot of times that these media outlets will just release small segments of the video that don't tell the story, that don't tell what made the officer up to make that split-second life-changing decision that they made. And when we're finding that more and more with body-worn cameras and agencies using them, that the officers like those. If the policies are done correctly and they're used correctly, officers actually like having those because it tells the story.
And it shows the justification.
That's right. That's right. And it shows that, you know, I can tell you what body-worn cameras have done for us in Colorado. You know, have they highlighted some bad behavior of officers? Of course. We're not saying that doesn't happen, but far more often, what it does is not only highlight fantastic, beyond normal work that our law enforcement officers do, but more importantly, it negates a lot of those complaints where people are making complaints against officers about things that didn't happen, or things they didn't say, or things they never did. And the minute, you know, a citizen with malintent, we'll say, finds out that there's a recording or a body-worn camera of the incident, those complaints go away because we're finding more and more that they show the officers acting appropriately and doing the right thing. So I wish you well with that law. I think that'd be great if you could get that done.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
But to your point, I would just say, law or not, please, you know, our partners and friends in the community, be patient when those things happen and wait till you have all of the facts and not the 5-second video that someone in a media production studio decided to show that day.
Yeah, I agree completely. So, I think we only got a couple minutes left. Anything you'd like to add, contribute?
No, I guess what I would say to kind of end our discussion is, you Just kind of highlight the things we've talked about already. Police officers, I may be biased, but I can tell you, I think the police profession is the most honorable profession out there. It is an honor to represent the men and women that raise their hands every day and put their lives on the line for people they've never met, will never meet, or don't know. I think it takes a special person to raise their hand and say, I will go. When there's gunfire, when everybody's running away, I will run into the fight. When there's tragedy occurring, when it's somebody's worst day, I'll be the person that shows up and helps them deal with that. And it takes just as much, if not more, of a special person to be the spouse and significant other of those men and women that do that. And so, to kind of sum up everything we've said, it's an honor to represent the men and women that do that. And what I would ask of your community and communities out there everywhere is just remember, we bleed, we hurt, we have feelings, we have families just like everybody else. What sets us apart is that we answered a call to serve the community, and we are committed to doing that in a way that's honorable and the right way to do so. When we make mistakes, hold us accountable. But when these men and women are out there doing the right thing, don't forget to give them praise and kudos as well, because they're doing a job that not many people could do.
And I totally agree with you. In fact, you brought a thought back in my mind. When you're going to armed man with gun or shots fired and altercation going, you get there, you turn the lights and siren on, you're going as fast as you can to get there, and this little voice in your head says, slow down, what are you doing? You don't want to get there too soon. You're fighting yourself as you're driving there, because
it's human nature. Survival.
You know it's dangerous.
That's right.
And you don't want to go really, but you do it.
You do it anyway.
And that's I don't think there was any time I went to anything that was really dangerous that I wasn't scared to death myself.
Oh,
you can't let it show.
And I'm sure he stole it from a military quote or something somewhere, but I had a very wise tenured sergeant tell me one time when I was young in my career, we were talking about that kind of stuff, and he said, pride, everybody has fear. Don't let anybody don't let any of these old guys tell you they're not scared. They are. Everybody has fear. It's the ability to overcome it that sets you apart.
Yep.
And I think our police officers do that every day.
I agree completely. I want to thank you for coming. It was a pleasure having you here. And back in town, you want to be on the show again, let us know. And
I'd be honored. This was great, and I'm always happy to talk about the honorable profession of law enforcement. And anytime, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And that concludes our show for today. Thank you for turning it on and being here with us. And we'll have another show down the road. Until then, stay safe out there. And remember, if you or a loved one is in need, has problems, has addictions, whatever the case may be, go to our website, our FOP website, and go to our links. And on the links page, we have just a couple hundred, I think, links of places available around here that provide the services. And I'm sure you'll probably be able to find the service that you need for your loved one to help. So stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.